Yep.
All right. Welcome to the Week 13 recap, fam. We are winding down. We are going into our last week here, and I have a special guest who you all know and love.
3 times they get to see me.
Yeah. His name's
Bob,
Andy.
Merry Christmas. I gave you a gift.
Yeah, it's the 3 wise men of Christmas, and each one is Andy. He just come on 3 times. That's what it is. Yeah, but thank you for joining me, Andy, to talk through a actually really action-packed and full podcast. We will do our best to keep it under time. We've kind of talked through some stuff, but there will be some important things to talk to. It's a huge week for playoffs coming up, so there's a lot here at the end. So please hang on, and you'll want to hear everything that we're going to go through. Right, Andy?
Agreed. Absolutely agree. It's a big week. Big week for a lot of people.
Yeah. So we will still start off like we always do with the ass whooping of the week. And this week it was Suckaditka laying a smackdown on Kyle. I feel like Kyle has been in a lot of these on the wrong end of many of these ass whoopings, but he basically, it was I think it was like 131 to 72 or something. Yeah, that's what I got. So about 58.5 point whooping on Kyle. Anything that you noted as why that happened?
Well, I would say Sam had a good lineup. A.J. Brown and McLaurin did well for him, but he was pretty solid top to bottom. And Kyle didn't. He had a pretty weak schedule, but he also had Murray and Hopkins on bye. That kind of hurt him.
Yep.
So, but Sam is pretty strong up and down.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I think Leonard Fournette scored the most points for Kyle with 13, and when your highest scorer has 13 points, not going to win you a week.
Nope.
So that's a little rough.
And I just hope he finishes the year strong and then starts thinking about next year how he's going to approach it, and maybe not draft Josh Allen first pick. Just saying.
It could be. Who knows? I haven't loved Josh Allen so far, but he's done well at times, so I'll say that. But yes, we won't pick on you any further, Kyle. Don't worry. But nice job, Sam. Then we have actually a couple nail biters, man. And you want to go? You want to go first, or you want to do this? Because we had 2.
Well, yeah. Let's talk. There were 2, and I was involved in one of them. And actually, I think Bob and I were the closest. We had a difference of 2.14. Actually,
barely.
In my other league,
It was
by barely, because the other one was
like 2.2.
0.18.
Yeah. It was that close.
And again, Merry Christmas, Bob, because I had paralysis by overanalysis and made some stupid moves, and we'll get to this in waivers, but one of my players will probably be on waivers for all of you to have.
Let me ask you this: what's like?
Yeah,
because you said the analysis paralysis piece, but what part either hurt you the most, or what's like one decision where you were like, man, I had this in the lineup and then I changed it last minute? Like, what's the one that's really hurting you right now?
Sunday evening, I was sitting there and I was kind of looking at where we were. We were very close, and I still had, I think he was done, and I was down by
14.
And I was down like 12 to 14 points.
Yeah.
And I had Rachaad White and Chris Olave in my lineup, and there was talk that Fournette was coming back and that White might be reduced. And I had Pittman on the bench, and even though they were playing Dallas, I thought he gets targets usually. And I thought, well, 2 number 1 receivers, I ought to be able to get over 14 points. So I switched out Rashad White with Pittman, which was the biggest freaking mistake. The other mistake was I wasn't 100% sure about Fields and his injury, and the last thing I could afford was him to get in there, get popped once, and be out early in the game. So I went with the safe floor, trying to use Trevor Lawrence, who almost got knocked out at halftime. So those were two of them. If I would have played either Fields, if I would have left Olave and White in there, I would have been fine. And that's what I'm kicking myself about, because Pittman just shit the bed and 2.14, and Ryan's a piece of crap. And thank God they're on bye this week, because I don't want to have to watch the Colts. They just look miserable.
Yeah, and
so that was my biggest. It was like a death by 1,000 paper cuts. I'm just telling you. Any way I could do it, I screwed it up. So.
And I saw you had Rashad White.
Merry Christmas, Bob.
Yeah, you had White in there the whole time, and I saw that, and I can understand the thought process though behind it of not, when you had White played great like last week, and then you have but Leonard Fournette's coming back, so then you're like, it's a split backfield. Right. What are you going to get out of it? You don't know, and it is you imagine Pittman's at least getting you 7 or 8 points, right? I thought minimum. If I could get 8 points from him, I would have been ecstatic and I would have won. But I couldn't even get that from him. And I knew they were playing Dallas, but when I looked at you look at the analytics of it, they still give up passes, because they're usually ahead. They give them up, but Ryan is just a piece of shit, and that line they couldn't protect anybody. So. I'm glad they're on bye. Like I said, I don't even want to watch them right now. They're just, and it's one of my favorite teams, but they are just horrible right now. Just horrible. Yeah.
So, that was the biggest thing. But thank you, Greg, because you traded in Christian Watson, which helped him out greatly. So.
Yeah, but DK Metcalf did just as well. So DK Metcalf would have been on his team and done fine. So
maybe not. It could have been karma or juju would have changed it. But
that's true.
The other one though, let's talk about field goal beating Zach and Allison's matchup with him, because and I'm rooting for her again this week, big time.
Yeah, we need her to win, because we need any 7-6 team to lose at this point is what we're hoping for. But
exactly.
But I got to tell you a story about it. So we were coming back.
I'm listening.
We were coming back from our friend's miss. That's what was happening on Sunday. And we're coming back home, and she's driving. So we have this served game, is what it's called. It's a real life card game where you can play cards against your significant other or your partner. And, and it's like, sometimes they're, just fun, stupid shit of, like little things you can do to them or make them wear whatever you want them to wear for that day or whatnot. And we had some good fun with it. But I played a card that was like a My Way Today card, and it was that she had to drive both ways, and it's like an hour 15-minute drive both ways, because it's fantasy football day. I want to be able to check my stuff as I'm going along on my ride. So that was my biggest thing. Right. But we're coming back home during the game that was most important, that what was the Chargers Raiders game, that was Raiders super important, and we're driving home during that time. And it's getting to like the end of the game, and she is down. She's losing at that point. Well, the Raiders were ahead by 7. So the Raiders are ahead 7. Clock's dwindling down, and I'm having to explain, like, I'm sorry, but Devontae Adams isn't going to get the ball.
They're not going to throw the ball.
They're just going to run the ball.
Right.
Josh Jacobs is going to continue to get it, right? Well, and then we get back home, and there's 20 seconds left in the game, and the Chargers get the ball back. And I was like, and she was down half a point. She's down half a point, 20 seconds left in that game. Chargers finally get the ball back. She has Justin Herbert, who then gets like another 45 yards passing to ultimately take over and win her the game by 2 within the last. So she basically beat Zach in the last 20 seconds of that Raiders Chargers game. And I know he was hurting. Oh, he was hurting.
And then hence, he had his little hissy fit and not only used vulgarity, but then flipped off the entire league several times. And then came up with, you and I deserve to lose, which, okay. that's bad karma. And
Yeah.
Zach, I'm watching you, and you know it's coming back.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. I hope I make the playoffs. I hope I play you. I hope I take you down. Just throwing that out there.
You deserve to lose.
You deserve it.
Yeah, that's definitely.
And the sad part is, we both lost.
We lost. Yeah, we lost. But apparently, he deserves to lose as well. Is what the fantasy gods say, and that's what they went with at that point. Yeah, certain things you don't say because the fantasy gods love to be fuckers. They will fuck around with you. Oh man! And so even though we lost, yes, we did. They felt like someone else also deserved to lose in such a fashion. Like, to me, that was the ultimate karma, because he thought he had it, he was close, and he's stressing the whole time, and then the last 20 seconds that made any difference in oh man, that was rough. But
I tell you what, if it's any consolation, it's been a couple years ago, but I was in a playoff game and I was winning by about 5 points or something like that. And I was like, I got it in the bag. And I can't remember. I want to say Washington was one of the teams or whatever, but at the very last few seconds, the other team was so far out of the game, they just kind of threw it down. Well, they called it a fumble. They picked it up and ran it. The other team ran it for a touchdown. And he had that defense, and they get 6 points, and he beats me by a point in the playoffs. Oh, it was one of those sleepless nights again, kind of like Pittman. I lost that night to sleep when I was like, God, why did I put him in there? But, yeah, I've had it happen to me. We all have. You have. My other league, I lost by less than a point this week, and I did start Justin Fields. So, yeah, happens to everybody.
It does. So, it does, definitely.
Still drinking my Miller Lite, though.
But yeah, a couple good nail biters there. Honestly, they were neck and neck, and it was kind of crazy and unfortunate on one side and fortunate on the other side. So good matchups. But got a couple other games that happened. One was kind of another trouncing, a little bit. Cases Aces had they were just shy of 130. They beat Tyler's all injury team, who only had 95 points. But once again, Josh Jacobs, I mean, he's the number one running back in the league. And
becoming a stud.
Oh my God, he's just too good. And he's a scary person. And then the other thing to mention in that one, I don't know if you noticed this, but yeah, Mike Williams did not play this week, but somehow Tyler, he's going to play for Tyler. I don't know. He wasn't going to play for the Chargers, but he's going to play for Tyler's team. What the fuck, Tyler? Like,
he's an optimist. I'm telling you, he's definitely an optimist. I'm telling you, great kid, love Tyler to death, but I'm telling you, got to have full lineups, man, especially right now.
Yeah.
Got to have full lineups. But you know what? But a shout out to Casey and Sam, their team is playing better because they had Garrett Wilson have a great game. AJ Dillon had a good game, which I didn't see that coming, but it was a good game. And like you said, Jacobs has played well for him last 3-4 weeks, so they've had much better play. And plus Derek Carr is playing a little bit better with Adams, hooking up with Adams. So
yeah,
they could be one of them sneaky ones you got to watch out for.
That's true. Unfortunately, they're out of the playoff picture right now, but they have the consolation bracket coming in where they can, take that down. And I would agree, like they got a scary team because Jacobs, as you mentioned, I mean, Jacobs has just been a beast. But Garrett Wilson is a good one to talk about because since basically with Zach Wilson, he was nothing. Zach Wilson, they just need to be done with him as the Jets and say, you know what? I wish more teams would cut their losses earlier because with Flacco, he was much better. And with Mike White, he's much better. And you're seeing Garrett Wilson has been just great the past few weeks. I mean, finally getting an opportunity to get the ball to your playmakers. That's what you're supposed to do. And so, yeah, he's had some really nice games, and they're looking scary because for me, if Mark Andrews comes back and starts playing well again, and they have a lot of players. Yep. Dak Prescott, I mean, he's another one. He didn't throw for many yards this week, but he had 3 touchdowns. So they've got, let's just say I'm playing them this week, and I'm fucking worried that this ain't gonna go so well for me this week.
Well, I hate to give you some news because I've had Andrews. I got him in another league too, and he hasn't played well. But last year when Huntley filled in for Jackson, him and Andrews had a connection, and that was some of Andrews' best production. So be careful.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one. And then the last game of the week was Licho. So Louis beat me by about 15 points. He scored, and he actually scored a
Dallas homer.
Yeah, and that game was a deciding factor.
That's what killed you.
But Louis had 133 and a half points. He was high score of the week. So nice job, Louis. Got high score of the week.
Hey, Louis.
That's his second time.
I'll hear it.
That's the second time he's gotten it. So
I'll hear about it.
Have won it twice. So you're broing.
I'll hear it.
So that's good. but yeah, that Dallas versus Indy game was honestly the deciding factor. I mean, Dallas's defense scored him, I think, 19 points, and Tony Pollard had another great game. With almost 30 points himself. So that one was where we separated, because I think we were actually close. We were pretty much tied or neck and neck at that moment. And then once that game happened, it was goodbye.
Yeah.
So definitely
they kind of ran away from you.
Yeah, he really did. Because
it hurt me too.
Godwin isn't going to get what I needed him to get. He's not really. He's only gotten close to that number. That I think I needed 25 points to take it last night from Godwin, and he got like 24 and a half, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago. But that's kind of an anomaly. He's more of a short yardage guy, getting a lot of catches. And in our league, as you all are probably noticing now with the wide receiver, and this is actually what I said to you yesterday about Olave, right? Like, if you don't get a touchdown, it's going to be tough, right? It's kind of tough if your receiver doesn't get a touchdown.
Exactly.
And that is definitely the case. I mean, Godwin didn't have a bad game. I think he caught like 8 passes, but it ended up being for like 50 yards or something, or 60 yards, like 8 catches for 60 yards. Well, that's 10 points. Whoop-de-frickin-do.
Well, and that was another thing when I was looking at Sunday night. I was looking at that game, and again, not that I'm a huge analytics, but I start looking at them a little bit more and more. I love numbers, so I look at them, but historically, Tampa Bay and New Orleans play a very low scoring game.
Yep.
And I knew touchdowns were going to be hard to come by. That's why I was kind of like, well, who do I pivot off of? And quite frankly, I thought, well, I'll play Pittman. If I find out Fournette is not going to play, then I'll throw Rachaad White back in instead of Olave. But that didn't happen. So, again, It is what it is. But they play one of the lowest scoring games historically. They have had very low scoring games. So, yeah, that's one reason I pivoted off of that one. And, yeah, it bit us both. We talked about that yesterday, and it bit us. So, thank you very much, Zach, for your warm wishes. I will not forget those.
Nope, that goes in the bank for years to come as well.
That's in the emotional bank for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, believe me, Stevenses don't forget that shit.
No, not at all. But that wraps up the week 13 matchup. So nice job for those who had your victory. And what it ended us with was a really muddy playoff picture right now, which we'll get into here in a little bit. But we'll keep rolling with some of the factors that may have caused somebody to lose, or at least something to look at for them in the future. That'd be injuries, some injuries that occurred. Any of them that you noted specifically that might impact people?
Obviously, Lamar Jackson, I don't think he'll be playing, but again, Louis covered. He has Geno Smith, so he has a good backup plan there. And like I said, if somebody picked up Tyler Huntley, he's a good replacement. But
but I actually
Hayden Hurst, he's out.
Sorry to stop you, but honestly, I actually think that makes Louis better, because most of the time Geno has outperformed Lamar since
outplayed him
the year, but he was Lamar Jackson, and you can get a lot from him. So if I'm Louis, I'm like, how do you get away from Lamar Jackson?
Well, it takes that. Well, I got to play Geno, so it
Yep.
takes that out because I mean, look what I just put myself through this past week. But yeah, I agree. And Lamar just really has not played that great this year, and as far as Lamar Jackson isk or
Yep.
whatever, but obviously Jimmy Garoppolo, he's out. I know he's on waivers, but I mean, he's got a solid floor, but he's out. But they say he might be able to be back for playoffs in the NFL, which I don't think that's going to happen.
They said a
Your
late
guy
playoff
Kenneth
push
Walker,
because it's like 7 to 8 weeks. He has a
yeah,
broken foot. It's like 7 to 8 week recovery. So I mean, if anything, it's like if they
yeah,
make it to like the Super Bowl, he might be able to play in
it
it.
doesn't do us any good.
No.
He's out for our purposes.
Yeah.
And then your guy Kenneth Walker,
Yeah.
I've never heard of this, but as you and I talked yesterday, I was traveling down here to Independence, and NFL Network. He's out week 14 with a sprained foot, and I was like, okay, what the heck? And then they came back and recanted it on the radio and said, no, it's not that. It's that he has a strained foot. And even one of the other guys, I can't remember because it's on the NFL Network on Sirius, and they talk serious football, not fantasy, but he was like, I've never heard of a strained foot. I don't know
Yeah.
what that means.
Yeah.
And so they say it's day to day or week to week. I don't know. So he might be questionable, but and Dallas, his backup, Dallas, DJ Dallas got hurt too. So
Yep.
he's probably questionable. So you don't
And
have no handcuff there.
I'm pretty sure Travis Homer got hurt too. Like I'm pretty sure he's hurt.
He was hurt. He was
Yeah.
hurt from last week. And
Yeah.
so
So they
yeah,
don't
I don't
have-
even know who they're going to play.
So they actually did.
So better yet, Geno Smith and DK Metcalf and Lockett could have a hell of a week.
Yeah. No, and I
The
actually
three of
agree.
them.
I thought that's where it probably goes. It probably goes more towards passing the ball at that point because
Mhm.
the person I saw them put onto they signed to their practice squad, and we usually know what that means is Wayne Gallman. So he was the backup for the Giants for a
boy.
couple of years, and so that's the person that they put onto there. But yeah, you're not going. I'm not going after any of them. I mean, even though he's my to get their back, and I hope he doesn't play. If I'm honest, because I don't want this to become something where he's limited during. He only gets a certain number of snaps. They're not willing to play him fully, or he gets re-injured because no one knows what the fuck the injury is. So it comes back to him.
Yeah, and quite frankly, Seattle has a really great chance of getting in the playoffs. So
Yep.
they could set him to get him healthy for the playoffs. So
Yeah, because they don't have a
that's
tough
hard
challenge.
call.
It's like Carolina. They're playing Carolina this week, so it's not like it's one of the top teams. They're playing one of the bottom teams in the NFL, so they could still probably get it done with what they currently have.
Yeah, considering Carolina just like waived one of their best quarterbacks, so released
Oh yeah,
him.
that Baker Mayfield guy.
That Baker Mayfield guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
He's on
he signed
waivers.
to the Rams.
You can pick him up. I know. I saw that. I was like, man, they're desperate.
They need a quarterback. Well, they are desperate. Yeah, I don't know why they'd even do that, but I don't understand why you would even do it anyways. When your season's over, if you're the Los Angeles Rams, your season's over. There's no point picking them up unless there's zero financial hit to you. I don't see why you do it.
Because they picked him up on waivers, they got to pay it's just under $2 million guaranteed money for the rest of the year. So they got to pay out $2 million for him. I don't get it. I don't see that investment.
Yeah, I don't.
And like you said, you're out of the playoffs. Just go with the two quarterbacks you got. Finish the year. Go on vacation.
Yeah.
Call it a day.
Yeah, no kidding. Who knows? I don't get it. And he's not like he's a draw anymore. But we'll get off the Baker Mayfield talk.
No.
Sorry. This is a
Yeah,
Baker
sorry.
Mayfield hour.
Didn't mean to go to a tangent.
No.
Didn't mean to go to a tangent. I know Hayden Hurst is doubtful. Tight end is so thin. And I think somebody has him in our league. I'm not sure who.
Somebody has him, but nobody started him this
so-
week. But I think somebody does have him, but they didn't start him. But yeah, I think he's out for they're talking
Okay.
out. Is he out for the season? He's out for a while.
Well,
potentially.
last I just saw, and I was doing some research before this, he's still doubtful is what they're saying with the calf injury. So, but I think he might be out. So, I mean, it's not real deep this week. I think those were the top ones, but
Yeah. The only
it's just
other ones
quarterback keeps getting thinner.
Yeah, and the only one I actually noted, I noted two others, and it's really more because of how it impacted our league and how it impacts certain people. But Jalen Waddle got injured in that game, and he kept like going, I guess, in and out
Right.
of the game. I didn't get to see it, but they were saying that he kept kind of coming in and out, like as if he was hurt but resting it. And so that's always interesting because as the adrenaline's pumping, that injury isn't taking as much effect as it will, now, right now. So I
Right.
did pay attention to Jalen Waddle. He's a wide receiver for Miami Dolphins, plays on Allison's team. And then the other one I noted is just my own player, Joe Mixon. I mean, that was his second game. He missed a second game
You
with a concussion.
you've got some IGP Ryan.
I
Quit
know.
crying. He's just as good.
I know he
He'll
had a
be
good game,
fine.
and in a sense, you almost hope. And why I'm even bringing it up is I
Too.
almost hope that Mixon doesn't play again because then Samaje gets hopefully more run, and they kind of talk about that in fantasy football too. Is another thing to note is when your starter goes down, yeah, the backup is the backup, but there's usually no backup to the backup that often, so therefore they get more of the work than
The
would
work.
normally happen for the
Right.
starter, just because like they're the ones that back up the starter. And so when you don't have, great backups to that, as we're noting for the Seattle Seahawks running back situation, then
Right.
you just get a lot of work. So we'll see how that goes. But I think I noted Cortland Sutton because he's got a hamstring. But
I had him on my list. Yeah. I had him on the list, but they say he's day to day, and
with a
I know the
hamstring.
hamstrings are tricky with the receivers, but
Yep.
Judy's supposed to be coming back, and
Yep.
Russell Wilson sucks ass, and
Who cares?
does it really matter at this point?
He's on Sam's teams. He's on
Hackett's one and
Suckadicka.
done.
Yeah, he's on Suckadicka, so I don't
Yeah.
think he's going to play him.
Oh, is he? Okay. Well, shit.
Play him.
Sam ought to be able to figure that one out. He knows that stuff. He can read between the tea leaves.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Very true.
It's not. I have it written down, but I was like, yeah. What does it matter? I mean, the worst offense in the NFL.
Yep.
And no, Sam, I am not a Denver fan. It just amazes me how they can go from being a good franchise to they just gone to the toilet fast. So,
yeah, they have. It's
defense is good. Defense is good, but I'd like to. You know what? I'd like to see. I'd like to see the final game of the season where there's a big brawl on the Denver sideline of the defense taking on the offense and they're just brawling amongst each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would
see how many offensive linemen protect Russell Wilson in that brawl.
Dude, that might be how they end their season. They might just say, you know what? Fuck it. We're playing each other. You're going to try to score on our asses. We're going to
scrimmage.
The defense will end up having more points than the offense in the end because they're going to pick off Russell Wilson, run back for a touchdown. They're going to force some fumbles, and they're going to just tear him up. This is going to happen. And the funny part is the entire time, they'll just give the ball back to the offense. They'll get a fumble and cover it. Like, okay, you guys get the ball back. Like,
yeah.
It'd be so bad. Oh, that'd be a good one.
That would be great. I'd like to see that.
We all pay to go watch that.
We probably ought to move on. I've digressed a little there. So.
We'll move on into free agency then. I don't know if you noted anybody. We have a few of these injuries. I don't know if they, that means somebody's going to try to go after any of these players. But anybody that you see in there that you even like or think could help somebody out?
I guess my only piece of advice would be is if you're heading into the playoffs, you need to get your handcuff to your best running back. Like you have Samaje Perine for Mixon.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't have them and there's been a backup just sitting on the waivers that, you have, I would pick them up to back you up because if that person goes down, that's the next man up, like you said. But I mean, I know Cam Akers is out there, but do you want to, any part of LA right now? Like I said, I think Tyler Huntley, I think he is a good quarterback. I mean, he had 5 really good games last year. I think he's a really good pickup if you need a quarterback. Like I said, Judy's out there. Nico Collins has played solid on a terrible offense. He's played solid. And then I had a source tell me that Michael Pittman might be available on the waivers after the bye week. So,
oh my God,
I have a good feeling that might happen. So if you want to roll the dice, there you go.
Yeah, that's a tough one there. But the only other one I'm
Now
not those same guys.
it might be a spike drop. You
Sure,
know, might
hey,
just be a
if he
spike
ain't
drop.
playing, no, he was actually lit. They mentioned that on a podcast I listened to today. They actually mentioned Cortland Sutton, Michael Pittman, and Jacoby Myers as potential cut candidates that you wouldn't think about, but you got to make those decisions. And yeah, I can understand that. You had mentioned the handcuff piece, and I actually think a guy who's not even maybe even a handcuff, he could be becoming a lead back, and would be James Cook, running back for Buffalo Bills. He is
True.
he got a lot of run this past week. I think he ended up getting like 20 touches, which that's a lot. And especially in a great offense like the Bills have, he could be a guy that you look forward to if you need to strengthen your depth at running back, that could be somebody that you look at.
I would agree. I think he's a good young talent, but I'll give you a perfect scenario last year. Same thing played out where everybody kind of overlooked Singletary, and they didn't really run him a whole lot. And I'm kind of wondering if they're saving him for playoffs, because
Sure.
last year he didn't play much down the stretch. And then when the playoffs came in, he was red hot. So I don't know if it's a game they're playing. I don't know. I mean, they've got a lot of talent on that team, but I would agree James Cook is a good pickup. And I mean, are obviously doing nothing with Hines.
Yeah.
They
Don't even understand it.
I mean, he was returning punts. So
Yeah.
I would agree. That's a good one to add on there. I was kind of hoping you didn't say anything, but that's okay.
Certain guys you don't mention just because they're on here, you don't want to get picked up. For me, I'm in a weird spot.
Right.
Like I'm not looking to pick any of them up, so I don't really care, And oddly, it's because I can't let go of Alexander Madison. I just can't. I can't let go of him, even though he never gets much run. But if Dalvin Cook goes down,
man, he's a number one.
Yep,
he's a number one.
Yep.
So that's kind of I think most of us right now, unless you had a drastic injury, and I was looking at rosters, and it doesn't look like any. Like I said, Louis, his worst one, he's already covered, but most of your rosters are set by this point, and I'm sure that some of the other guys could use some depth help so they can fill out their starting lineups. So
yep. That'd be the case. Now let me ask you this too. I'm going to throw this one out to you as just a. It's on topic, but as I guess you would say, an unwritten rules, and whether or not this is one of them. If you are out of the playoff hunt, should you still be making waiver claims on players?
I think as long as it's the regular season, yes, you should be able to, because you still want everybody to fill a full roster. And especially in this league, it's going to matter. We got 6 of us vying for 5 spots. So I think in the regular season, it's perfectly fine. Where I would cut it off is if the playoffs start and you're out of the playoffs, you really shouldn't be able to make waiver claims at that point, because it should be kind of left open to the actual playoff teams. And I'll give you, for instance, as we had one guy one year that went like 1-13, and he was so bad. But then he went and picked up all these players. Well, and we were a keeper at that time we kept like 2 or 3 spots, and he went and just picked up a bunch of people that were either on IR that were really good or something like that, so that he could have them for next year. And I don't think we're not a keeper, so I get that. But
yeah,
I just think for the playoffs, I think it's best that if you're out of the playoffs, that you shouldn't have waivers at that time. That's just my opinion.
No, I follow that same logic.
Echo Zach, I'm not an expert. I'm just giving you my opinion.
No, I would follow that same logic. And for me, it would be, I guess the best way that I can explain it, if you have an impact on the season, you should still be able to make a waiver claim. Now,
Agreed. That's kind
so
of what I'm
normally I would
saying.
say with the playoffs, if you're out of the playoffs, then you shouldn't be. However, we have a new wrinkle in ours because we have a consolation bracket.
And we have a prize for that.
Correct. So I kind of go towards, in a sense, in our league currently, if you're in the consolation bracket, well, I mean, you might want to pick up somebody because you're like, hey, I can still win $30, and if you've won, like $30, still $30. I mean, that gets you a few edibles here in Illinois. So just saying.
Well, I like that logic, and I agree with that. I mean, because there is prize money on the consolation, because that's a very good point. And again, I guess I was using a point that
normally it's not the case
at this point. So yeah,
just so people are aware, like a consolation bracket winning is not normal. Like that's not a normal thing that happens. But I think when you and I discussed it before the season, and we just felt like it was an important way to keep everybody still engaged, and that's where I don't want that to go away either. So because we have the consolation bracket,
keep it open then.
So yeah, so I would say in a normal league, and it's also hopefully this helps people like want to get into other leagues too. If you want, I'm actually going to trim mine down next year. I'm not going to be doing as many, but hopefully it gets some of you. This might be your only league, your first time ever doing it, but you want to do it some more, and it's good to kind of know some of those. It's kind of like going to a casino. When you've never gone to a casino before and you don't understand how to tip the guy, tip the dealer properly, stuff like that. Like, it's just good to know some of these little tips so you don't fuck around with the whole scene, too much and piss somebody off.
I'm not opposed. I think leaving it open is fine. I'm not opposed. And again, you're right. The wrinkle we put in here is, hey, let's reward the what is
consolation.
It called? Yes, consolation bracket. Thank you. See how fast things get out of my head once you get older. Shit.
But yeah, so but I would agree with you normally of like if you're out of it. So even the consolation bracket, if you're in that bracket but you lose the first week, you should be done with waivers. Basically, you're done with waivers at that point.
Agreed.
If you're in the playoffs and you've lost the first week, like once you're kind of out of the playoff, out of getting going towards any sort of monies, like that's where I would say, okay, let others do the waivers. I don't get opposed if people want to pick up free agents after the waivers, because to me it goes into that realm of like, well, you had an opportunity, you could pick this person up and you didn't. So I don't get too opposed to that. But even that, it's like if you're not in it, I just kind of let my roster be and figure it out from there. But just wanted to throw that out there, just because just because that's where I just know that's something that comes up, and it's something that is one of those unwritten rules of fantasy football. One of those things to kind of think about. So
right.
Anyway, so now before we get into some kind of important items here, comment of the week. Any comments that stood out to you this week?
Well, the one still burned into me is Zach's negative, his venom and spewing poison and venom. I'm telling you what, I was like, oh God, you poor loser. Geez, grow up.
Man.
But actually, one of the funnier ones though, I thought, was Kyle talking about, well, I've blown $50 on less or whatever. And Louis responds, well, son, the only way to double your money is take it out of your pocket, fold it over, and put it back in your pocket. Yeah. And the thing is, I know exactly where he got that comment. That had to have come from his dad, Jerry. I guarantee you. That sounds like Joanne and Louis' dad, exactly what he would say too. So I thought that was a good comment, but the venom and hatred that just came out of a scorned loser just really.
Well,
I was like, my goodness.
Kyle, I'm going to have to admit that.
I mean, Zach, just smoke a bowl. Relax.
Yeah, relax, man. Well, Kyle,
yeah, bro.
I'm going to have to admit, I felt like your comment was coming from a sore butthole. Is what it seemed like, because Oh yeah, doesn't matter. I'm not upset. Come on now. I'd be upset if I was 3-10 if I lost this league. I'd be shitty, man. I'm not gonna lie. I can't like
I was
oh
pissed off as hell last night, but the only person I could be pissed at was me.
yeah.
So,
Bro, when I was
you know,
0-3, man, I was stressing. I was 0-3, like fucking A. I'm the worst player in this league right now. I can't get shit going. I'm upset.
yeah, but then you made other teams better where the horse trader kind of took teams and he took a couple teams down
Oh, that Kelsey
being a
trade will
horse
never
trader.
not be spoken of, and I think Tyler's feeling that Kelsey trade too, man. I mean, Taysom Hill was the number one
Yeah,
tight end on the week, though, with a shit, and it was still so shitty. It was like
I
11 or
hate him.
12
And he
points.
still had a shitty game. He
No.
still had it. Um, actually, I heard it today when I was getting ready for work on Get Up. Was somebody likened Taysom Hill to a karaoke singer? He can sing a lot of different songs, but he's bad at all of them.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a good analogy. So,
Yeah, I know. The other comment, Allison liked Kyle's comment of the bro code because it seems like you and you and Louie need to work on that. So she really liked that comment.
that's been a thing for, I guess I'm not good at the bro code, you know, shit. Our wives, when we all get together, our wives bust us on something, and usually I'm the one that caves in. Oh, Louis said it first, or something like that. And he's like, dude, what are you, bro code, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah, we're working on it still. I mean, it's only been 24 years almost, and I'm still working on bro code with him.
Got
So,
it.
yep.
Well, we have some good
All
comments
right.
like we always do. Well, go ahead.
No, I go ahead. It's yours.
Yeah. So now we're getting into the really meat and potatoes of this whole thing, right? This is playoff time. We're in our last week, and we're at an interesting spot. So I am adding a little feature here. So I'm showing y'all a little write up that I did for our current schedule. We have now, with what has happened and what has transpired amongst our league, we now have 6 teams that are tied at 7-6. This is huge deal. Basically, what we have right now is Allison is guaranteed the playoffs. She's been guaranteed the playoffs for fucking like 3 weeks now. Yeah.
Great job, Allison.
She did. She did awesome. She has done well. I give her plenty of kudos. This is more frustration as well. But we have 3 teams that are out of it, unfortunately. So Kyle, Samacy, and Tyler are out of the playoffs at this point. And that leaves 6 of us who are all tied at 7-6 for 5 spots, meaning one of these people on this screen that you see will not make it in. And I just want to give a quick rundown of how this works. So everybody is on the same page and you understand the stakes. But ultimately, if you win, you're in. So if you win your game, you are in, and you'll find out why I say that here in a moment, because we have an interesting last week of the season in regards to the schedule. And no, this was not chosen to be like this, but it's how it's ending. So yes, if you win as a 7-6 team, you are in the playoffs. If you win the West Division, you are in. So even if, and that is possible, it is possible for the 3 7-6 teams in the West Division to go 7-7, and one of them will be the winner of that division, and they'll automatically get a bye as the number 2 seed, even though they're not as good as some of the others. They'll still get a bye for that victory and for winning the West Division. However, once you are 7-7, basically, it comes down to points. It comes down to total points on the season. So I wanted to throw up here who, like, basically the 6 of us who are 7-6, and where our current total points are at right now. So you see Sam Suckadicka is at the top at 1636, and it flows all the way down to Bob's Bandwagon 317 at 1562. The three teams that are in the West Division are Suckaditka, Omaha Colt Fins, and Bob's Bandwagon. So Sam, Andy, and Bob are in the West Division. So as I stated, if you all go 7-7, you better hope, Andy and Bob, that you can somehow this week basically score 50 points more in a sense than Sam. That's what you kind of have to do. Andy
Right.
and Bob, you got to score even more than that to get the highest to win it. That doesn't mean that you're completely out either. But like I said, it comes down to record or the total points at that point. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. But I wanted to throw that up here at this time to kind of show you where our playoffs are at. And that will make more sense because there is a 7-6 team in every single game this week. And one game has 2 7-6 teams in it. I did not obviously plan it this way, but to me, that's amazing. That literally means that every single matchup this week is important. It means something for somebody's playoffs.
And I think, again, going back to what we talked about, when you and I first started talking about this is ideal actually for me. Yes, Allison, congratulations. You had a great season. Probably you ran your team like you run your household. So I get it. But I mean, having the competitiveness and having it this close coming down to the last week, that's all we could have dreamed really of, because it keeps everybody engaged. But yeah, I guess my only point is I hope that suckers, I hope that your pits off, and then I hope I think Mahomie, I hope he shits the bed.
Yeah, you hope we all shit the bed, basically.
I hope you all shit the bed so I can at least get a bye week and not have to worry about it. But
the bye's important.
You know, like I said, I'm sweating it. I mean, I was kicking myself in the ass. I know I called you and I were talking about it. I was just kicking myself in the ass, but it's been a good league. It's been a good year. And I think what we need is the other teams that are playing somebody 7-6, they got to play them straight up hard the best they can. Make this even. Make sure you're filling out a full lineup. Do the best you can. That's all we can ask. You know?
Agreed. You got a full lineup. Don't fucking play Mike Williams when he ain't playing. Like that kind of stuff. Tyler. Let's get a little nut clarity into this, Tyler. Oh my gosh. I mean, come on now, man. Got to have some pride. So trust me, I know some Macy, they're coming after me, and I'm fucking shaking in my boots because they got a good team. I truly am worried about it. I mean, Josh Jacobs has just been great. Garrett Wilson has been great. Dak Prescott just keeps getting better. I mean, they have a good, solid team. Like it's going to be tough. And you know what? Like I feel for them because they lost Cooper Kupp. And think about that team with Cooper Kupp. Like with him, they're even better.
They've actually been better.
Yeah.
They've been better without Cooper Kupp somewhat. And, you know, Kyle, I worry about him. He's getting Murray and Hopkins back. Yep. And I could just, if I lose to him, I will hear it for the next fucking year. And I can't take that. I can't take that. So.
Yeah, you will.
And I have to see him at Christmas too.
That's yeah, big, and that's going to be just a burning topic at that point, right? I mean, I think so. If I want to say it ends like right before Christmas. I think that Sunday before Christmas Sunday would be week 17.
I'm just talking about this week. I just want to get in the playoffs.
I'm trying to think.
That's all I'm worried about right now.
It's going to be fresh on people's minds when our league is over.
I just want to get in the playoffs, man.
It is week to week. For us 7-6, it's week to week right now. So you're doing what you can to win this week because you're not guaranteed next week. So that is an important piece of this. Bob at his 7-6 team, they face Allison, so he's playing the number 1 team in our league. And trust me, she's out for blood, people. I'm just telling you, she is out.
Please, Allison, do me a favor. I already gave Bob his present. Merry
Yeah.
Christmas, Bob. Again.
But for Bob, I mean, looking at his flex spot right now, Christian Watson is out this week on bye. Cordero Patterson out on bye.
I've got 4 people out on bye.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get to your game. We're gonna get to your game, Andy. Don't
Oh,
worry.
okay. I'm sorry.
Jeez, jumping
It's
ship.
all about me right
It
now.
is.
It's all about me.
But Bob is right now looking at Gus Edwards to basically be his flex fill-in, and he did not do so great this past week, so that was not good. Or I mean, if Rondale Moore gets healthy, he could, or he's got to find somebody in free agency. So he's got to figure that that second flex spot out because Devontae Smith obviously is in, but yeah, he's got to figure that second flex spot out. And Allison's got some people on bye or even out, but she's got the horses to come right back in. It doesn't matter.
She's loaded. She's loaded.
Even if Jalen Waddle
I don't think
doesn't
Chubb's
play,
going to have 2 back-to-back.
yeah, if Jalen Waddle doesn't play, she can still throw Ezekiel Elliott in, who has been great the past 4 weeks. Like that's nobody. It's all about Tony Pollard, and trust me, Louie, I get it. Tony, go! He's been great, but Zeke is actually, for fantasy purposes,
he's getting touchdowns.
Yeah,
he's getting the touchdown runs,
and
so,
he's. I think every week he's like scored even more. It's like 4 weeks ago he had 15 points. The next week he got like 16 points. The next week he got 17. I think this week he got like 18 or 19. Or he got 20 in our league. But I'm saying, like in another league that I have him in, I've been playing him every week and telling people like he's underrated right now. He's doing well. So that could be a tough one. You want to talk about yours? Fine. Okay, go ahead. We got Colt Finn, 7-6, going against the grapefruit. Lots of buys.
Yeah, oh God. I hope I can pull that one out because I don't want to hear Kyle for a year. And then, like I said, he has Hopkins and Murray coming back. But I can't remember who they're playing. I thought they had a decent matchup. But I've got 4 players out right now. I mean, Justin Fields and Montgomery are out. So those are 2 of my top people. And then, Pittman's on bye. But he may be on waivers real fast. And then Olave's on bye. So I'm kind of hurting with some people there, but so I'm going to have to play some of the players I've got. So, I mean, I'm okay. I'm going to play who I've got and let it roll, see where we're at.
Well, you might be picking up. You might be trying to pick up Jerry Jeudy. So it sounds like to get him in your lineup this week, maybe.
Well, either that or if that Burks from Tennessee, if he gets through concussion protocol, I might throw him out there because he's been coming on. So that might be a possibility if he gets through protocol. But hey, there's always Gabe Davis. Got him. Got Amon, and I still got Amon and Jefferson, and they're playing each other. So I think that could be a high scoring game.
That'll be a great game. Yeah.
So I got those 2 playing. So.
Well,
I mean, I'm going to play what I got.
Yeah. Well, we have Obi-Wan Mahomey, another 7-6 team. He's facing the all-injury team in Tyler. So Tyler, again, play a full fucking roster. Figure that out.
Right.
You got some players you could do, so this does impact people. So again, focus, Shemmy. Let's get focused here.
Right.
I think your mom, you can hear your
I know
mom.
finals are going on.
Shemmy.
That's right. There's finals going on. I get it. It's a stressful time of the semester, but you can find time to set a lineup, mister. And maybe you could take a night off from your girlfriend, give her a break, and just focus on setting the lineup.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
Yeah. It's the winter time. There's no time for motorboating in the winter. You just gotta you gotta focus on what's in front of you, which never mind, it could be motorboat. But still, take a moment. If the phone is placed properly, you can do it all at one time. Then I mentioned Josh Jacobs. But so I'm facing that, Casey and Samantha, and it's gonna be rough. I already mentioned that one. But the last one, here's a really important one. We got Licho. Licho is 7-6. He is facing Suckaditka, who is 7-6. This is big time.
I know, that's a good matchup.
One of you
I love that
definitely
one.
goes to the playoffs. The other, you'll see where you're at in contention. But yeah, that's going to be a really good matchup. Jamar Chase is back though. He didn't play him this week, and Jamar actually had a good game. He almost had 100 yards.
He looked good too.
Yeah, and he didn't even
He
play
looked
him.
healthy. He looked really good.
So he'll probably be in his lineup, I imagine. And as we talked about before, Lamar Jackson out, I actually think that helps Louis to then feel comfortable to just go ahead and play
Agreed.
Geno, who's been playing great. Tie him up
and
right
I
with Tyler
think,
Lockett.
doesn't he have? Yep, I was just going to say he has that stack with Tyler Lockett and him, and I think it's going to be a passing game. So I think this could be one of the better matchups score-wise too. I know projections are a little off, but I don't think they've set completely their lineups. But I think it could be one of the tighter games to begin with.
Yeah.
And I mean, Sam has the luxury of having the most points, but Louis is what, 2 or 3 spots behind him on points.
Yeah.
So this could be the game that really kind of determines a lot of the dominoes, how they fall. So
yeah, very true.
That's the one to watch.
Yeah, very true. Here's like another interesting thing. I mean, you think about it. So Bob was at the bottom of that list, you know, like down on actual total points scored. But if he beats Allison and goes to 8-7, 8-6, and you and Sam lose, technically Bob, he could still have the lowest points of us all, you know, in that group of 6. But if he wins the West, and he's getting a bye. You know, so Bob, I mean, that's one of the scenarios, right? Like there's so many scenarios out there of what could actually happen, which, as you had mentioned, like this is what makes it great. Like this is the moment that makes it all just super cool. Like this is what we wanted. This is what we were happy for. And I think everybody's, for the most part, put your lineup full, is in for the ride no matter what. So the only thing I'll throw out,
is there a theme to this podcast?
Yeah, right.
Is that the theme of this podcast?
Yeah. You know, even for me, I actually have to look at it. I have J.K. Dobbins in my IR because he's been on IR, but he has a chance to come back this week. So I even have to make a potential decision. J.K. Dobbins.
He played last week.
No, he didn't.
I think he did.
No.
Do you get docked 15 points for that?
No.
I'm gonna have to do some research. I swore to God he played.
You can look at it. He's still listed as IR, so they're not gonna. He can't stay on IR and play. But he could come back this week, and then Mixon. We'll see, because that's where I have to make a decision. If I drop Madison, do I just drop Dobbins straight out and say, okay, that didn't pan out? Who knows? I don't know. It's either way, but should be interesting, to say the least. One. Yeah.
Exactly. I think it's going to really come down to a lot of, like I said, these games. But I really am very interested in the Licho and Sakadika.
Yep.
So I think
but every game has an opportunity. I mean, because even the games where you feel like it's lopsided, potentially it's really not, because of either buys or injuries or other things that are going on. And I mean, it's football, right? I mean, it's how it works. You know, that's just how it goes.
Right.
And you know, anybody can be anybody.
I want to apologize on the record. I thought you said Dotson. I was like,
oh, got it. No, he did play.
I took you wrong.
John
My
Dotson
apologies.
Did play. But
yeah, my apologies.
The other thing I also looked up today, because I, looking at who got the high score, which was Louis, so he got the high score, and it was the second time getting it. 8 of the 10 teams have actually won high score of the league of the week at least once. Good. So it's only, I believe, Casey and Casey won it one week, I believe. Yeah, so I think it's Bob and Kyle.
He did.
Yeah, Bob and Kyle are the only 2 that have not won it yet. So if there's ever been a chance or a good week for you to do it, Bob, it might be this week, so you can get them points way up.
Kyle, not a good idea. Don't do it.
Yeah, and Andy doesn't want to hear that, so I'm just throwing it out there that, hey, it could happen. But this will be the last week of that. So everybody, just so everybody's aware, this is the last week of the weekly high score. We just do that through the regular season for that part. Also, when it comes to the playoffs, so I just want to make sure that we're all understanding of how these work. So the regular playoffs, for those of us who can make it in, I'm hoping we can get there, Andy, but it is a 3-week playoff. There's 6 teams. That means the winner of each division has a bye. So Allison already has a bye week in week 15, and then whoever wins the West between you, Sam, or Bob will get the other bye. So then you'll get a bye for week 15, and then we play. Obviously, the other 4 of us would then play. So no matter what, like I can't get a bye, Louis can't get a bye, and Zach cannot get a bye. The 3 of us, just so you all are aware, we can't get the bye. So we are automatically going to be playing in week 15. That might be just another thing to think about as you're thinking about waiver claims, you're thinking about who to pick up, because you might want to look forward to week 15 at that point. But then it's a 3-week playoff. It goes through week 17, as that's the championship game is week 17. For the consolation bracket, it's a little different in how the app itself tries to run it, because they don't understand a consolation bracket, and it's not something that you can really set up beforehand. So what has to happen with the consolation bracket, that is only a 2-week playoff. So week 15 and week 16. So week 15, obviously all 4 teams play. It'll be the number 7 seed versus the number 10 seed, and the number 8 seed versus the number 9 seed. I, as the commissioner, have to set that up each week for the playoffs, because the app just makes it number 7 versus number 8 and number 9 versus number 10, and they don't look at it as an actual playoff that's happening. Right. So just so you're aware, it will be the number 17 versus 10, number 8 versus 9 in week 15. The winners of those matchups then go into the championship game in week 16. I will probably have to adjust that again, because again, the app doesn't really track it as a playoff. They just let you kind of roll through your game. So I will have to then adjust it. If I cannot adjust it on my end, here is what I do. If for some reason I've never been a commissioner before, so I don't know. I'm assuming I can adjust the schedule in the playoffs, but in case I cannot, I will literally still be doing it 7 versus 10 and 8 versus 9. And what that basically means is you're going to play your team. You don't actually play defense, right? Sure. So whichever of you of 7 versus 10 has the highest point total, that's who won. So even if it's still listed as 7 versus 8 and 9 versus 10, I am playing it as it is 7 versus 10 and 8 versus 9. So whomever has the highest score out of that would then win. And then the same thing for that following week for the championship. I would just say, okay, whomever won, whoever has the high point, even if you're not playing them technically in that week in the app, you are playing them in our league. That's how that will work. I hope that makes sense. Does that make sense, Andy, what I just said?
I totally understand it. And like I said, we can reiterate that next week too, but sure. That's the way it should be. Absolutely.
Yep. Okay.
So
very cool. So that takes us through some of the playoff scenarios. I know this was a longer podcast, but it was kind of important to do it. It's a huge week. Like it is
huge
week.
I just have a couple things, if I could. I know it's been long and a lot of information, but this is the league we wanted to create. Very competitive. Coming down to the last week, we couldn't have done. I mean, for the first year, you've done a great job. Well, except for that 1 week, I kind of didn't care for it, but you've done a very good job, and these podcasts have been fantastic. So thank you for hosting those. I really appreciate all your effort in that. They've been very entertaining. I do watch them, and I get a chuckle out of them, so it's fun. I like this league, and I think what I'd like to see, and again, we'll talk about it after the season and stuff, but maybe next year we expand it by 2 and make it into a 12 and possibly get a couple more family members involved. I think we agree. We'd like to have everyone back. It's been a good league and it's been a lot of fun. And I'm like you, I'm going to drop one of my leagues and just have 2 leagues next year, this and the one that I've been in forever. But thank you for all you've done. It's been great. Allison, go kick Bob's ass for me. Just give me a little revenge. And Zach, I wish you all the worst this week. I know that's going against fantasy gods, but you started this shit, so it's on you.
It's
my
on.
homie.
It is now
So,
on.
It's on. It's on like
Officially.
Donkey Kong now. So
it is officially on
hey,
at that point.
Good league. I loved everybody's participation. I love the text chain. Everybody's done a great job. Let's just keep moving it forward. And thank you, Greg.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And I echo your.
That's all I got.
No, I echo that same thing. It's been an absolutely awesome league. This experience and being able to connect with you all, meet people I hadn't met before as well that are part of the family, and you never realize how small the world is and how much we can be connected. And I think this has been a great way for us to stay connected, because it does. What people don't realize is it just opens up an avenue to even just talk about other shit, even though at times it might be trivial or it might be silly or it might be, something like off topic. But as you notice, even Zach was sharing stuff about going to the play, and being an awesome uncle. And
that was awesome. Yep.
And to me, that's like, that was why we did this. At the end of the day, we're competitive. Right. We like to do this. It's a good way. It's mostly about football and fantasy football, but we did it.
And so we joke around
and be a part of each other's lives a little bit more in a fashion that is, I guess, more with the times, at the same time, like more for us being distant. We have people all the way as far south as Texas, as far west as being in Omaha, right there, in Indy, Chicago, Michigan, I guess, Detroit area. So like we have people all over able to do it, and it's just been really exciting. And yes, we will be expanding to 12 teams next year. I already have a few people, so it might actually be we'll see how the decision, I guess, is made, and potentially 14. I get a little stressed out with 14 because the player pool itself becomes very thin.
It's thin.
It does, and it's a much different experience at that point. And for some of you may not care, and shoot, even somebody like Allison, she'd look at it like she doesn't know all the players anyway, so what does it matter at that point? But once you start to, you'll find that next year when we have at least 12, the drafting is different. Your team's going to look not as strong. It's going to be a lot of things that you don't think about. When it comes to even just adding 2 more teams, you don't realize how much that does impact the league, but that will happen. So the 12-team league will happen next year, which is exciting because that just means others heard wind and they heard it was a good time and they want to be a part of it. And I think that's really awesome. So yes, that will happen next year, but we'll get to that, later on after the season is done and we do a nice little wrap up of this whole thing for season 1. But for now, let's focus on kicking our opponent's ass. And that's all we can do, right, Andy? You and I, we're gonna kick our opponent's ass.
Good. We'll meet you in the playoffs. Just everybody have a good week, and I'm gonna do my best to kick ass and just have a good week. And good luck to everybody, and except for Kyle, I don't want him to win, but that's okay.
But but thank you for joining me.
Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you for joining me.
Hey, I had a good time. I'm sorry it went long, but there was a lot to go over, and let's get primed for the final week of the regular season in our fantasy football league, and then we'll move forward.
Yeah.
Talk to you later, buddy. Love you.
All right. Love you too. Love you. Love everybody. Good luck this week.
Love them all.